Is it the beginning of the end for English cricket's golden generation after their latest defeat to India in the ODI World Cup on Sunday? The 100-run defeat against India has seen another low for the defending champions England as they occupy the bottom spot after 6 matches and are also in danger of missing out on the Champions Trophy in 2025. So was Team India's performance a great treat, or are England really on a low with the latest defeat? Hello and a warm welcome to WION Podcast. I'm Aditya Pimpale, and joining me today is a man who knows English cricket left, right and centre. Hello Gautam, we are delighted to have you and hope you are doing well. Gautam, there is no other place to start off with. Another slump for English cricket, and the way that they are playing, it was a new low for this English team, now rock bottom of the league standings. So what is your take on this English side led by Josh Butler?
Well, certainly, if you would have asked anyone before the start of the World Cup that England would be at the bottom half and at the 10th position as it stands, everyone would have laughed in your face. But the reality is quite different from what everyone had thought. And the dismal show from this England team, this is very unexpected. This is very disappointing for the English fans, and being the defending champions, coming out there showing no intent. There have been accusations against top teams, but England is one team that hasn't showed any heart, any game, and they have faced the wrath of playing poor cricket. And it is very disappointing as a cricket fan to see that daunting side with those match winners to be sitting at the number 10th position.
We just can't blame the situation, players not playing in the IPL. You can't say that they are not used to Indian conditions. They were used to Indian conditions. Australian players, not everyone plays the IPL. They are not used to Indian conditions, but they are performing. There has to be a very professionalism. Was team selection a very big factor in this one? Jason Roy not in the team, and, untested players in such conditions. Is the spanner in the work there?
Definitely, there were too many wrongs than rights in this English team. You could have picked out the selection criteria as one of the reasons behind it. Agree, Jason Roy was not around, but then he was injured. Jofra Archer was not around, but then he suffered the same fate. But I think if you look into the hindsight in the lead up to this World Cup, Stokes coming out of retirement, Harry Brook finding his place in danger, England were sort of not addressing the elephant in the room. They were more than happy to have a match winner and a World Cup winner like Ben Stokes, and anyone would have him in his lineup. But I think that sort of a thing created a misbalance in the English team. Harry Brook was out, and when you don't have a opener like Jason Roy in your team, you have to start with someone like David Malan. And although he's been among runs, but then he's not your outright opener. David Malan and Joe Root playing at number 1 and 2 and 3 doesn't really make up for a lot of runs, because we have seen so far in this World Cup, when England are needing a lot of runs to chase, Malan and Root are not your best combination to go ahead with. So I think there were little things that got exposed at a wrong time for England team, and I hope the way they underwent the transition in 2015, there could be something big coming for the Poms.
Not plenty of water has gone underneath the bridge. 11 months ago, we were sitting down here, we were talking about this English team, great English team, beating India left, right, center in that T20 World Cup semi-final, humiliating Pakistan in the final. But it has all been a different story altogether. The way that they have showed, they were totally outplayed. 230 is not a big target to chase against an Indian team. Yes, I know that the Indian bowlers are in great form, but again, batters disappointed. That was one of the worst performances that we have seen from an English side in the recent past. So what is your analysis on the game against India? Just not India, but against South Africa as well. They were just outplayed entirely.
I remember looking at Harsha Bogle's one tweet. He said, when the teams or individuals are low or confidence, then even the mighty will fall. And we have seen the example with this great English team. In the lead up to this World Cup, as I've mentioned before, they were literally one of the most daunting sides. Not even for those who were following cricket, they were thinking England as the eventual winners, let alone, just reaching the finals. So I think what we have expected and what the real outcome has been, it has been quite a contrast. It has been such a big difference that everyone is amazed, bamboozled and disappointed at the same time. Against India the other day, they didn't look confident at all in their approach. England looked timid, And any team, you could be 10 times World Cup winner, but if you are timid, if you are low on confidence, you just cannot face good bowlers and expect to score runs against them. And the same happened with the England team. Let's not discount the Indian bowling. That was top class, probably the best we have seen so far in this World Cup. And it looked like that it was India's day altogether, and England was facing the old fate. They were doing it in this tournament, and thus they were down and out completely.
I guess, overconfidence might be another big factor in all these things. We always speaking about the baseball thing in the test cricket, the way that they were batting, bowling in test format, but they were outplayed in the Ashes as well. They didn't win the Ashes. Once again, they were on the disappointing note. And now the bubble has been burst up in the World Cup itself. So the way that this England team is going, do you think any flaws in that Josh Butler leadership? Is he not good enough, or someone needs to take responsibility of these defeats? Because I will come to a very big point later on, that is the Champions Trophy. But how about this? Who takes the onus of these defeats?
I think Josh Butler, the England management, the selectors, they all should be man enough to come forward and say that it is our responsibility that the team did not perform as per the expectations. And this is a low for any captain. You could be the greatest captain in history of cricket, but when your team is not performing, you are made look like a very ordinary captain. And same is happening with Josh Butler, although his credentials were not that great as that of Eoin Morgan. But I think the England selectors are banking a lot on his shoulders to deliver the job this time as well. We've seen how he did well with the England team in the T20 World Cup last year. So clearly there is not a factor of quality in terms of his captaincy, but I think things did not just click for them. I remember watching an episode after the India-England game, and the English pundits, they were, restraining themselves from talking highly of the England team. They were on their faces saying this is not acceptable. We are the defending champions, and what campaign we are having, this is even worse than the 2015 one. So I think England really need to go back to the drawing board and see how they can, make up for this and how they can approach the tournaments coming forward.
Gautam, let us go back a couple of months ago. George Bailey, the Australian selector, he comes out, he defends the decision that we are picking Travis Head. Although he's injured, but we know his quality, we are picking him. Luke Wright, the English chairman of the selectors, he comes out, no, we are getting Ben Stokes in this team. Now, the approaches are same, that you are relying on some of your good assets. But then, how much role does the selectors have to play? Because I guess the selectors in this English side have got it totally wrong. Luke Wright has to take the responsibility. Although on pitch it is Butler's call, but then someone might say Australia could win the World Cup and George Bailey would get all the applause. So what about Luke Wright? We can't keep him away from the spotlight from what he has faced. He has to be criticized for this.
I mean, certainly, and he is aware of it. Former England cricketers, pundits back in the country, they all are aware of what is happening in India. And of course, fingers would be pointed. This is how the nature of this game is. One win, you're on the top of the world, and downfall, and then everyone starts pointing fingers on you, and there has to be someone who takes responsibility for the same. Luke Wright, as you have mentioned, in case of Travis Head, it literally clicked for the Aussies in the game against New Zealand, but I don't really think that it clicked the way they would have hoped. The English team I'm talking about, and it's in a dismal position. They are shattered in a way. They don't look like a team. They are just like individuals squaring up on the cricket field, trying to play for 100 overs and try and get a result out of it. Josh Butler, after every post-match presentation, comes and say it is a same old story for us, but then it doesn't look like that they are working too hard to change their fortunes. And but I think with a lot of stake in a couple of years, what event is coming up, England really need to pull up their socks and at least make sure that they are winning 2 games out of their remaining 3, and placing themselves 7 and above.
Just a good reminder that we have, this English side that has been winning the World Cup. But the biggest factor of all, is the Champions Trophy, qualification 2025. It will be held. ICC's current criteria state that you have to finish in the top 7. If Pakistan finish in the top 7, then the number 8 spot also goes to the Champions Trophy qualification. So England are not there at the moment. So do you see them winning any of the remaining 3 games? It is Australia, Netherlands and Pakistan. So what are the fortunes there? If they miss out on the Champions Trophy, it could be a big spanner in the work.
Definitely, and in no world I'm going to say that England would beat Netherlands, because Netherlands in the past have beaten them twice, and in this World Cup it has been shown that there are no associate teams. These minions have come forward and have beaten the top ranked sides. So I think England have a very steep road ahead of them. 3 matches are remaining. Australia is on the verge of sealing a semi-final spot. Pakistan is also fighting for the same thing. Netherlands is again, but you cannot discount them. They have played excellent cricket thus far, and England really just need to pull their socks up. If not for anything, they must play for the pride. They must play for that spot in the Champions Trophy. And as you mentioned, if they fail to make it to the 2025 Champions Trophy, the venue of which as of now is Pakistan, but then let's see how things shape up in 2 years' time. They really need to pull up their socks. They don't have an option. They probably take it as a do and die game. Forget the World Cup. Whatever happened. Now look into the future. You could probably make a new team, work towards it, and be ready for the 25 Champions Trophy. But for that, you need to be there in the first place. So I think they really need to be, shown the real image and been told that whatever happened. Now get up, play well, and play as a unit. That is the most important thing.
I guess, from this fact, what we can conclude is if England are going to miss out on the Champions Trophy spot, that will be the biggest catastrophe in the world of cricket. But just a reminder, if England do miss out on that Champions Trophy spot, the ICC may well work on the loopholes. They might just shift up the tournament to England, make them co-host, give them an automatic place in the World Cup itself. So plenty of things to wonder as well. But most important thing, just for our viewers, as we saw, the Netherlands team, Bangladesh team, they didn't have much to play for at the start of the World Cup, but now they have some ambitions, and now they can exploit that. They could make it into the Champions Trophy as well. Gautam, thanks for your time. We will not waste much of your time because you have some very good work to do. We do keep reading you at times on the WION website as well. Do make sure that you tune into our X platform, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well, and get in touch for our next podcast where we will be discussing and about the Champions Trophy qualification as well. For now, from me and the rest of the team, goodbye and thanks for joining.